Annyeong, it's Mikey here, and today I'm coming back to you guys with another Switch video, and who else do we have to thank but Unikeys? They sent me out so many, as you guys know, and this is going to be the last of the Wingtree that I've received. This is going to be the Tactile the Yuying. The Yuying Tactile, because this one is going to be their series that they did of like kind of replicating and putting an homage to the like MX Cherry switches. So we're gonna have to see what the switch is like, and of course do a bunch of sound tests, and of course even compare it with the MX2A Browns that I have. So let's go right into it, and please make sure to like and subscribe. So let's take a look at the Wingtree Yuying Tactile, and thank you again Unikeys for sending me this out. Now as you can see here, the Wingtrees come in a really nice box, and they even give you a container just for the switches, which is super awesome, especially for like the price that you're paying. Now as you can see here, this really reminds you of the MX2A Browns, right? The Cherry Browns. This is a big reminder of them, and Wingtree actually made the Yuying series to really kind of go off of that. As you can see here, the travel isn't the full length though like the Cherries, but we'll have to do a sound test and compare the switches. Now this is going to be the Wingtree Yuying Tactile, which is pretty much like identical. Sorry, let me just focus here. Identical to like the MX2A Browns. I would say this has a much heavier tactile feel compared to the Browns. And I'm not saying this has a heavy tactile bump, but just compared to the Browns. I actually really like this a little bit more. You get a cleaner sound from this, and you also get a little bit more of that like bump, which is really nice to type on. I actually really appreciated this one, and I think I appreciated this even more than the Browns. The Browns sound is like deeper, it's almost smoothed too in a way, and I did a spring swap on my MX2A Browns, but overall I would say that this one just kind of feels so much nicer. Overall with the sound and feel, the typing, I just prefer these over the MX2A Browns. Now, we're going to have to open this up though and take a look, do measurements and things like that, and of course put into our spreadsheet. So let's go right into doing that. Now, of course, let me give you a reminder of the information for the switch again, just so you guys can have it in front of you while we go into the different measurements. Now, let's see what we can do with this switch and what we're getting with it. Let's do the travel first. So we start off at 18 millimeters, going all the way down to 14.2, which is a 3.8 millimeter travel, but we're going to do a little bit more testing just to make sure that we're getting the accurate distance, because when we had the information, it's at 3.7 millimeters, but we can see here like it's kind of going towards the 3.8 more than the 3.7 millimeters, which is a little bit surprising. And sorry there, I just dropped the switch. So it's not the full length, but it still has a very decent travel in terms of the switch, right? I would think overall it doesn't feel the same as like a Cherry switch, right? Which the Cherry switch has that really nice bottom out comparatively because of like the whole travel distance that you get for 4 millimeters, which I really enjoy a lot. And this one you can definitely have a little bit less, but still feels good. And the tactile bump point, so you guys can kind of see here, like I'm measuring where the tactile bump is ending, and that's kind of the measurements you're looking at. So you're looking at like 2 millimeters of the travel distance from the top to the whole tactile bump. Now we're going into opening up the switch itself, so we're going to take a look at the stock lube of the switches, the stock lubing, and see what it's like. Now these are pretty decently lubed stock. Now you could lube them yourselves. If you don't lube them, you do get a little bit more scratch compared to when you do lube them up, and of course oil up the springs. And as you can see from the sides, like they have a decent amount of lube, like a very decent amount, even on like the front and back of these stem and this like the whole switch, which is really cool. And even the like contact points from the stem for the contact points of like the pins. So you're getting all these lubing around of the switch, which is really nice. And you do get a single stage spring, and the spring length is going to be 19 millimeters. So that's what my measurement was coming to, which is a decently lengthy spring. And with the long pole stem, it is quite nice to have like a little bit more of that spring length to have, with a nice feel in terms of like this switch actually going down and bottoming out all the way to it pushing back up. Now, as you can see as well, in terms of the contact points of the pins, you'll actually see that there's a little bit of lubing as well, and it really makes the switch a lot smoother. Like if I was to compare it with the MX2A Cherries, the Browns, you are getting a much smoother switch, which is really nice to have sometimes. It depends on the person, but you do lose out on the scratch, which the Cherries provide, and it's quite nice, honestly. I did spring swap my Browns though, and it does help a lot. I just like the springs, I think the springs in the stock are not great, so I did change them out, and it is feeling really great. And you can see even here, like when I'm pressing down, like the tactile bump feel, it is heavier, like it's stronger in terms of like the tactile bump feel compared to say the MX2A Cherry Browns. The Cherry Browns has like almost like a super smooth, very, very light tactile feel, while these ones on the other hand is going to be a little bit more on the, let's say, like you're going 15 kilometers in a 30 kilometer zone and you had a speed bump, so you get like a slight bump and you feel that bump because you're going about 50, maybe 20 kilometers over 30, so you're under the speed limit, but you still get that bump feel comparatively. It's going to be smoother, it's going to be a little bit less, but I would say like the Browns are going to be maybe like a 10 kilometers over 30 kilometers, so you're getting almost no bump feel. Now This is the decibel test, so we're going to see how loud these switches can be. And when you do have a distance from like the desk to you where you would be sitting, it would be about 64 decibels in terms of the average. So it's not the quietest switch, but it's not the loudest switch either. You're getting a very in the between of like a medium volume. So like in the office space, yeah, I wouldn't really advise using them because with the sound profile and how loud they are, but in terms of your home, they should be fine. Now, in terms of the bump here, I'm going to show you guys how the actuation is looking like. So as you can see, when I press it down, that's like the tactile bump. And then when I go all the way down, so you see right there went all the way down, and the top part was the actual bump distance. And you can see like I'm not going all the way down right now, which is just the bump portion. So it's going from the top end to the bump. And then once I actually press all the way down, you actually see like go press fully in, and the travel distance from there is like maybe a millimeter in terms of where the bump ends and all the way to the bottom out. And then you're going into the stem mobile test. So the top part, and when it's at the top, you're getting a little bit of rattle, but like very, very little at the top. And then once this stem actually goes down, you do get a little bit of the stem movement. So you will have a bit of stem wobble with these switches. It's not a ton and it's not like crazy. I would say that they're pretty decently done in terms of the stem wobble. And to be fair, I'm not as sensitive to stem wobble as some other people may be, but you can see it here with the keycap with on as well. So just keep in mind that on camera, it's actually going to look a lot more movement with the keycap than actually in person. And when you have it in person, you feel it, it's actually really nice and not too bad. Now going to the backlighting test, you're getting almost like no lighting with them. So just keep in mind, if you are someone who likes your backlighting, these switches aren't going to be something you want to use because pretty much you get zero lighting, like not at all with these. And it's unfortunate, but I don't use lighting, so I don't mind, but some people definitely may. Now going into the actual spreadsheet to take a look where it's sitting. So I have added it in, and you can see here where the like pitch is going to be. So compared to the original linears, they're a little bit lower toned comparatively. There's still a mid-bright switch, and you can see there in the decibels with the hertz as well, compared with like the rest of the switches on the list to kind of see where it stands. It's going to be towards the clacky side. It's a bright medium sound, so it's not like super high clack like some of the switches like the KeyGeek B1 or the Keybay Cheese V2, and it's not a mid switch, right? It's still higher pitched than those ones. Like if you compare it with the KeyGeek M1, and if you compare that even with like the Gateron Yunzi 0, this is going to be more towards the brighter mid side of close to light clack side. Overall, I think these ones are really nice. I actually prefer these over the MX2 Browns. I think the tactile feel is much nicer. It feels actually nicer to type on with that specific tactile feel. And even the sound is actually a lot more sturdy, I say, like sturdy. I would say you get a more solid sound with them, which I really enjoy. And overall, I really liked it. You can actually get 7% off if you use my code Mikey at Unikeys, which I think you should definitely check out the Wingtrees. Like they're a new brand that really is coming up, and I think they've done a great job. So I'll have the links in the description, and you guys should go check them out. Now, I hope this video helped you guys in terms of seeing, is the Wingtree Yuying Brown any worth it? I really think that these ones are really nice to try. I think if you do like the Browns, but you wanted a little bit more of like that clack and a little bit of a better bump, this is probably going to be the switch you should take a look at. I'll have the links in the description. Of course, you can use my code Mikey, get 7% off, and save some money while shopping at Unikeys, which they also have a bunch of different switches. So you can go check out a lot of the stuff they have. They even have a bunch of nice keycaps from Kikobo, so that's also really awesome to look at too. I'll have to catch you guys next time, but please go check out the other videos I got.